Hi everybody, foXnoMad here, and today I want to help you travel smarter by reviewing the Akaso Keychain, which is this small, portable, wearable vlogging camera that sells for $100. And despite it being such a great design and concept, it's just so poorly executed. So here's all the reasons that you probably don't want to buy this camera, but also what it could have been and what it could be in the future. The keychain, like some of the other portable Akaso cameras I've reviewed in the past, looks a lot like a pricier competitor, namely in this case the $200 Insta360 Go. The Akaso Keychain is clearly a riff on that small design with the same minion shape, standing 63mm tall by 33mm wide and weighing just a couple of grams. So yes, it is keychain size. Inside the box you've got a magnetic base and a stand, as well as this clip so you can do just this. These lights on the side indicate charging, pairing, and recording modes, but you're going to have to keep referring to the instruction manual a lot since they're not intuitive. For reference, red is charging, yellow is pairing, blue is on, flashing blue is quick capture mode. Good luck trying to remember all of that by the end of this video. And when we're talking about those flashing lights and what they mean, getting this thing to turn into pairing mode or to turn it into quick capture mode is a major hassle. And because these lights on the side here aren't very intuitive, you rarely know what the camera is actually doing unless you use the associated app with it. But more about that app and its troubles in a second. A couple of other good points. There's not going to be too many of them in this video, but it uses USB-C, so it charges over USB-C, which is always nice. It has 60 minutes of battery life on the spec sheet, but when recording that tends to drop down to 40 minutes or less. It's usually around 30 minutes or so when you're actually recording in 4K. And when it comes to tech, there's usually a difference between what the spec sheet says and what actually happens when you use a product, especially when it comes to battery life. So that's not too unusual, but what is less usual in this Akaso Keychain is just how big of a difference what it says on the spec sheet is from what's actually happening in reality. So it says 60 minutes of battery life, and you'll be lucky to get 30 minutes, very, very lucky to get 30 minutes of actual recording time with the Akaso Keychain, which is just another one of the things that's so disappointing about this little camera. Take, for example, the 4K footage of the Akaso, up to 30 frames a second. It's high resolution on paper, but when you look at the footage outdoors in good lighting conditions, it still looks grainy, it's over-sharpened, the dynamic range is bad, with the bright areas in the sky being blown out and the shadows too dark for any details. Even at 2.7K at 60 frames per second or 1080, it still doesn't look great. Alright, so before I talk about the microphone, I want to talk about how long it's taken me to actually get usable footage from this thing, because it keeps disconnecting with the phone. So basically just getting it to connect is a huge hassle. It's taken me, I'd say I'm about 20% successful, and I've been using this Akaso for over a week now, trying to see what it can do. But the only time it really works is when I've got my phone out. And the problem with that is, if you're using this as a vlog camera, you're not going to want your phone out. Otherwise, you might as well just film with your phone, which is going to have a better camera, it's going to have a better microphone. It's just more convenient because you've got a screen to see what you're filming. But you can see that when I cut this off, it's just too unreliable. It's just so likely that this is going to cut off and then I'm going to lose the footage. So I can't rely on what I'm filming. And the battery life when you're recording is gonna be about 12 to 15 minutes if you're shooting in 4K. It's not great, you're not gonna get the best battery life. 12 to 15 minutes is really hard for a vlog, and you can see I can't even see myself now. But that's a really short time, especially if you're taking this out all day and you wanna grab what you're seeing. Again, I really hate to bash this, but it's so poorly executed that you might as well just use your phone, which has much better battery life when recording in 4K, better quality of video, and also just a better microphone. There you go. The photos also aren't very good at 20 megapixels, and obviously this is a small camera, so it's going to be a small sensor that's inside, but still you can tell the internals of this Akaso Keychain. My guess is that they're using old internals from some older device. So this footage looks a lot like something like a Gopro, let's say 4 or 5 level quality of footage and dynamic range. And you can tell that it's just, while it has all the features, so it has all these things on the spec sheet, and the design looks like it should look like. It looks like a very popular competitor, and it's half the price. It's just really, as I said in the beginning, poorly executed, pretty much down the line. And sometimes the Akaso would just completely just go blank. Like it just wouldn't turn on, it wouldn't work, it wouldn't connect, it wouldn't do anything. And the only way that I could get it to reset itself was to use a paper clip to stick into this, I think it's a reset button, but I'm not sure because that's not in the instructions, but I would just reset it there and it would start to work. But then after a couple of days, it would just completely stop working again. I'd have to reset it again. So if I were going to use this as a vlog camera, I'd say the fact that, one, you don't have a screen, which may be okay, but the fact that it's so unreliable makes it very, very difficult to use this as a vlog camera because, one, the microphone isn't that great. As you can hear, the quality isn't so good. And although the video quality, okay, isn't terrible, I mean, you can see me, which is, if you're vlogging, the important thing is you want to see the person on the screen. The background, the fact that there's very little dynamic range, the brights are very bright and the darks are almost too dark, isn't so much of an issue if you're using this as a vlog camera. Basically, you want the portability to be able to get shots that you're seeing from a first person point of view. So if you're just pointing this out like this is kind of the view that you're seeing, and it gets the job done. Like I said, looks like it's an older sensor, not the best sensor, but it kind of works. All right, now this is a GoPro Hero 7 Black, and I know this isn't a very fair comparison because this Hero 7 Black, when it came out new, was about $400 or so, and right now you can probably get it for about half that price. But still, I want to just show you what it means when they say 4K. So when you see that in a spec, you see that in a spec sheet, 4K can mean a lot of things. You see that the dynamic range here is much better, especially if I turn around, you can see kind of what the colors look like. And I'm not in the best lighting conditions. I mean, this is very strong light with the basically very brights and darks, but still you can see that the colors are a lot better. You can hear that the microphone itself is a lot better. This camera, I don't have to worry about it disconnecting. I know that it's going to record, and I can see with this little LCD on the front, I can see how much it's actually recording. I don't need my phone. I know when I hit record, everything's going onto the memory card, and I'm not going to just get some black screen that is going to be totally usable. So when you're vlogging, when you're shooting, when you're traveling, whatever it happens to be, reliability is very important. And that's reliability not just of the electronics themselves, but also the fact that you want reliable footage. You want to know that you're shooting what you're shooting, that you're recording when you hit record, because the worst thing that you have is basically to hit record and then not have footage, to lose that footage, because you might only get, you know, whatever that event is, whatever that place is, you might only have that day. Obviously certain things that are spontaneous like vlogging just going to happen then and there, and if you miss that moment, it's gone. The fact that the battery life is a lot less than advertised, that the quality is not so great even though it's 4K, and the fact that really you can't rely on the connections, and it's so hard to set up. It's so hard to just take this out of your pocket, turn on the app, and then get it started, then put away your phone. It's just a real hassle to use. And if it weren't for that, this might actually be usable, even though it's a little bit bigger than some of the more expensive competitors. It's just so poorly executed that it's really hard to recommend this to anybody, really, at any price. So just to give you a comparison of what the microphone and the image quality, also the stabilization. So the stabilization here is really pretty good. It's not the Akaso, you can see the stabilization when I'm walking is not great, but the stabilization here is very good. I've got different angle options, so I can shoot wide, ultra wide, super wide, or maybe be a little bit more closed in. So just to give you an idea, if you're looking for a vlogging camera, you want something that's small, very portable, you know, a GoPro, even though it's much more expensive, is going to give you a much better experience. And then of course, obviously at that price range, you're just getting into the Insta360 and those kind of cameras, which are also a lot better, again, more reliable. If the Akaso worked well, so if it worked and you could get with that footage, microphone would still be terrible, but if you could use that as a secondary camera when you're out and about shooting, just so you had something that's constantly recording, for example, it could come in very useful as B-roll or a sort of spontaneous roll, or a second camera that you could sort of put into different shots, like very low, or, you know, just sort of high up shots, that kind of thing. but you can't because it doesn't really work. So there you go. Anyway, take a look at the GoPro footage for comparison. And speaking of that dynamic range, so you can see right now I'm in the shadows, but it's a bright day and I'm completely lost with the background of the bright sun. So if I keep walking, you can't really see me and the skies are really blown out. But then if I turn around into the sun, it's not terrible. It's bright for me, but it's not terrible. But again, I still have the phone with me all the time. So if I'm using this Akaso as a vlogging camera and I have to have this out for it to really work, why then would I even use this? Why wouldn't I just use this? Because I'm basically looking at that, but I'm using this screen to control that. If I turn this off, if I turn the screen off even, or I put the phone in my pocket, I know with a pretty good degree of confidence that the connection is going to cut off and not be able to record much at all. So again, just really kind of a good copy design, but just terrible execution, unfortunately. And because of all of those shortcomings, because of the poor microphone, because of the poor camera quality, and especially the fact that it's so unreliable in quick capture mode or when you're using the app, it just wouldn't make sense to use this as a vlogging camera, which is how it's advertised. So when they say vlogging camera, I imagine you just snap that on right there and you start walking around and filming your day and vlogging it from a first person point of view. So this is out there and you're walking around and just showing what's going on, and maybe you turn it around, you vlog a little bit, but the microphone is just really bad. The camera quality is bad in good light, and in low light it's pretty much unusable. All right, so this has been a pretty negative video. I mean, I could go on about how bad the stabilization is and so on, but I won't. I'll just tell you right now, don't buy this product. It's really not that good. It's really not good, period. It's not worth your money, unfortunately, but it looks cool, and I just don't want you to get fooled or confused with some of the more expensive competitors. Like I said, the Insta360 Go is $200, which is double the price of this vlogging camera. But if you want something that's actually going to work, that you can actually use for daily vlogging, that you can actually use as a camera, maybe as a primary camera, you're better off looking at something like that, or waiting a year until those prices come down and maybe the Insta360 Go 2 comes out or something along those lines. But until then, you're either going to have to pay up for that kind of camera, or you're going to completely hold off on something like this. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below, and while you're down there, hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'll have new videos for you every week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. So poorly executed. Camera, it's 100, that it's probably not a good camera, aside from the fact that